Parasite in My Mind, written by dratsab Huffman and narrated by the author. Either I'm out of my mind or you're inside my mind. I can feel you there. I know you must be there. Is this latent schizophrenia I've activated, or is there something metaphysical going on? I always thank God. I thank God that He doesn't exist, because I can't bear to have someone seeing what's in here. But here you are. It's all dark in there. Can you even see? What do you see? Perhaps you see nothing except the words that flow through my mind. You can't see my actions, can you? You aren't actually omniscient. You are no God. You are a parasite. You latch onto me, and for what purpose? Did I allow you in there? It's dark in there, but it's so light out here. All you can see are dark fictions. Everyone has their darkness inside, right? If I could crawl into someone's mind, I could judge them too, you fucking menace. But perhaps these fictions, perhaps they are just non-fictions of actual mental processes. If they exist to be fictions, then perhaps in some form they are non-fictions as well. I don't know why you choose me, though. I'm just an average guy, a regular Joe. I can't compare my mind to others, but I'd say it's probably no different. I've had no special upbringing in one direction or another. I'm just walking down the street, drinking my green tea matcha latte, iced. Is that so fucking interesting for you to glom onto my every thought? And how deep can you dig? Can you reach those subconscious thoughts, or just what I foolishly allow to pass through my consciousness? You can't blame me for that. How is that in my control? Just please leave. Are you even capable of leaving? Perhaps you are no more capable of leaving than I am of halting intruding thoughts. What was it that caused you to be here? Was there some sort of excitement, some catalyst? Was it that attractive girl that stood in front of me in line at the coffee shop just a moment ago? Were you here then? Were you aroused by what I thought about doing to her? How I'd like to have groped her curves. I'd like to have my way with her. Sure, in my ideal scenario, I'd have loved for it to be consenting. I wouldn't rape without consent, but then I gave myself consent to rape and did so. Oh, you don't know what I mean by that. I didn't mean in actual reality, just in the theater of my mind. So no one was actually hurt in the real world. But there was some practicality, was it? Was there not? I had to consider that in all likelihood she wouldn't feel that she could deign to fuck someone like me, someone so regular, so average. She thinks she is above me. Well, you know what? I'd like that entitled little whore to know. I'd like to pin her down in a dark alley and tell her, oh, you thought you were so fucking powerful, but your power only exists in a world that acknowledges social rules and boundaries. Once you have to face a force that doesn't respect those arbitrary force fields, you have to acknowledge that I'm the one above you, both literally and metaphorically. Who knows? Maybe she was a nice girl. No, I can take one look at her and know the roles she must play by, the nature she was imbued with, and no free will won't allow her to be generous to me in any form. Fuck her and fuck you. There are two victims of rape. The victim of rape and the victim of lust, and both must face unfortunate consequences. To merely dream of rape makes no one a victim. Well, I suppose I've always been a victim of lust that I can't turn off. Sure, I've been so obsessed with sex that I've mulled around in my mind all kinds of disgusting acts to relieve myself from this tyrannical impulse. Fucking animals, digging up dead bodies to fuck, perhaps even incest, even fucking children. Females only, of course. I'm no fag. I'm not saying they were thoughts that I wasn't disgusted by and that I took seriously, but they strolled around in my brain on a few occasions. It's funny, as I walked down the street waving and smiling at people, gregarious fellow that I am, and they don't suspect a thing that occurs up here in the attic of my egregious mind, so they can do something about me physically, but what can you do? No, I know. I can almost hear you too. I can't quite hear you, but I feel the rumble of your judgment. Or is that my own judgment of myself? Is this some sort of duality, or has my corpus callosum been severed? Perhaps this is schizophrenia and I hate a form of myself, but which form of myself do I hate? Is it the super ego or the id? Maybe we are all one, as some Eastern philosophers say. If that's the case, genocide is just a more efficient form of suicide. If there's two of me in here, then I can take out two birds with one stone. One fucking stone I could land on after a swift dive off a fucking cliff. I really wish you would leave. Just fuck off, man. I don't know what you want from me. You know what? I'm not gonna give you anything. See? I can remain silent or bore you with uninteresting thoughts until you leave. It's nice weather we are having. This drink is so cold, so sweet. I can annoy you with William Carlos Williams poems. How about some Walt Whitman? Oh, fuck Walt Whitman. Fuck him harder than you. Seriously. A leaf of grass is the journey work of the stars. Blow it up your ass, Walt. Okay. You've got me. I can't turn my brain off. It stays up all night and never lets me sleep. Sometimes I lay down and listen to audiobooks at night and am able to nod off. Know what it is? Other people's thoughts bore me to sleep. My thoughts are so enlivening that I'm up all night captivated by my own genius. Fine. If you're going to be here, I'm not going to stay so self-conscious about it, but can't even see what I see. I'm staring at something right now. Can you guess what it is? Can you know what it is? I'm not going to tell you, but it's there. How do you feel now, you non-omniscient fuckbag? Do you even have your own body somewhere else? If you're in my mind, then what is in your mind? Does your mind have its own self-conscious thoughts, or have they been soothed and removed temporarily by inserting mine in their place? But see, you don't recognize these thoughts as your own. You feel a distance from them, even though they're occupying your mind right now. You feel safe from them. Perhaps you visualize the rape I alluded to earlier. But I didn't give you much to work with. You filled in those details for yourself, didn't you? You fucking hypocrite. You, perhaps, were aroused at the bare minimum that I gave you and added your own lust to it. Well, I won't judge you if you don't judge me. I assume you must be male in some sense, if not in body then in mind. No female would stick around to continue hearing my brain's dysentery. Females are afraid of chaos and the unsettling. They don't taste the flavor of it. The spice burns their mouth and they pussy out. They have no great adventures and passions within their souls. They don't know anything about romance. Oh, I know. Women and romance are so linked in our culture. How could I say that? They receive romance like men receive sex, and they love it superficially, but they love it because men provide it. Women don't provide romance to men, so men don't even know if they like it or not. They've never been the muse to a woman's agency, and that's a shame. Believe me, I know it is a shame. That reminds me, the when I courted, as it might be phrased, the rejection I felt when she chose someone else. That ambulance that just went by. Did you even hear it blaring right in my fucking ear? I bet your lucky ass wasn't even bombarded with that terrible ear pain. You really have no idea what's going on out here, do you? You just see what's going on in there. How do you know what I tell you is even truth? I could be making all this shit up just to amuse, not you, amuse me. I'm doing this all to amuse my fucking self. What are you gonna do? Call the cops? You are a non-entity. Why am I so afraid of some incorporeal presence? Omnipotent you are not. Impotent, that's more like it. You aren't God, you aren't even a man. You are some presence, perhaps not even in existence, except in my mind, which makes you non-fiction of my mind. Fuck, I think you are, therefore you exist, maybe. I don't even know for sure. If these thoughts are thought, they must exist as non-fiction playing out in my mind or yours. Well, let me amuse myself with my own thoughts then, whether you actually exist to hear them or not. Maybe I'm thinking, I want you here. It's been lonely without an audience. I don't even know why that bitch did what she did to me. I wish I could look into her mind. Maybe then I could forgive her. I wish I had your capabilities, you lucky duck. I want to peer into minds too and read them and dig the puzzle pieces out of their brains to put it all together so life looks a bit more logical. God, how I'd love that. But I can't. I just wonder. I wonder what they think. I wonder what you think. I wonder if you think. I'd love to cut the brake lines to her boyfriend's vehicle, maybe hire a private detective or snoop out her place for myself. If I had the time for that and wasn't working all the time, I'd find out who he was and I'd find a way to make his death look like an accident. Then she would take me in his stead. Oh, I know, you're thinking that would never happen. Well, none of this would fucking happen, except in my mind. And if it's happening in my mind, it will goddamn happen how I say it happens. You aren't going to play mind plays with my fucking machinations. I've got the means, I've got the machines. That's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 reference if you didn't know. And save another TCM reference for later, so prepare yourself. But I digress. I layer doubt on top of doubt and thought on top of thought, and therefore it's really hard to follow a linear mental line with me. I just keep drifting around and back and forth. Hell, you might not even think it's that bad yet. I'm only trying to keep it together a bit more than usual because I have an audience. Without an audience, it's just scribbling and gibberish and non sequiturs. In fact, me just thinking right here means you aren't actually getting an accurate reading of my mind. If you are here for some scientific purpose, you are tainting the experiment. Fuck. I had something to say next, or think rather, but I lost my train of thought. So many distractions. This downtown doesn't drone on with the same noise. It interrupts you with noises bursting out in random intervals. The sounds of cars passing you get used to, but the unexpected horns and the bums asking me for change and tossing me out from my mind and into this external environment, it's such an inconvenience. Why won't they let me go about my day in peace? And the women, it's not fair how every so often you pass by and see one that really put the juices of lust to a boil in my loins. I don't like how outside factors exert an influence upon my constitution and affect the placid flow of my mental faculties. Anyway, I date her for years and we would grow to love each other immensely. And one day, after she had accepted me as her soulmate, I'd whisper all sotto voce in her ear, "It was me. I killed him." And I wonder how she would respond. My mind can't really even dream up an appropriate reaction for it. There's something beautiful. There's something beautiful about moments just like this. There's more beauty in an ugly person painted by an artist than there is in the idealized form doodled by some bored high school kid. There's beauty in ugliness. There's art in murderers and serial killers and genocidal conquerors. Would you forgive a man on utilitarian grounds if he were to save more lives than he took? Say someone like Fritz Haber. Would you agree that he was important to this world? And yet, you wouldn't tell someone you had a favorite serial killer. You might be fascinated with a particular one, but you wouldn't agree to the phrasing. But just as people may die in the process of shooting movies or building sculptures, you need serial killers for art. Am I saying serial killers are artists? Not necessarily. But if they aren't the artists, then they are the art themselves. They do what we merely wish we could do sometimes. They have the will we lack. They have a passion to carry through. God, how marvelous and sublime. How often do you fantasize about killing someone? Surely someone has fucked you over and you just wished you could cut him up and feed his cooked meat to a church potluck group. Or perhaps you have your own artistic vision of murder. That was just off the top of my head. Now, it's not something I've really committed to, so don't go all Freud on me. I just needed some interesting visual for you, assuming I'm not just talking to myself about this, and I'm not convinced that I'm not either. I certainly think I argue with myself, or debate with myself, or discuss things with myself all the time. Something feels different this time, though. Something. Or maybe I let the boyfriend live for a long while. Let's say they form a happy marriage. I disappear for a decade, then all of a sudden I return with two others, like a modern Manson family, all of us in ski masks. We tie them up in their house. I give vague hints to my identity. I whisper in his ear who I am, but neither of them speak. They aren't able to. Their mouths are taped shut. I ask her if she knows who I am. She shakes her head that she doesn't. I ask him. He nods yes. I ask him if she actually does know who I am. He nods in the affirmative. I dramatically reveal myself to her in a masterful act of suspense. I've changed in appearance. I'm leaner, more muscular, and I spent my life turning into a killing machine for this one act of catharsis. It takes a while to recognize who I am. I execute him first, as he is trivial in the long game of this grand show, and take my time with her. I might even let her live with the indelible scars as the sole audience member for the performance I've been crafting and cultivating for the last years of my existence. Who's in charge here? Oh, Captain, my Captain, fuck you all women. God damn, I hate him. How do I not know you're not in control here? How do I know you aren't the one feeding me these thoughts? How do you even know I exist? You know you are thinking, correct? But you don't know I am. You are receiving these thoughts, but you assume they are coming from my brain. But how do you know you aren't me? Or how do you know you aren't the sole mind receiving these? What do you even call them? Ideas, perhaps? You don't even know my name. Do you even know your own? Is my name Jack, Bill, Greg, Joe, Chris, White? Do any of these apply to me? I visualize in my mind, assuming I'm not lying to you and you aren't putting these thoughts in my head, that you assume my name is the third or middle option. You are doing that based on the fact that at the bottom of the page you are reading or writing that it says is written by a Greg Huffman. This vision of my mental ejaculations manifested into text has appeared in my mind, and surely it must exist in yours now too. But what you have to take into account is this is just a transcription. I can only assume, if Greg even exists, that he is just here to transcribe my thoughts, or you are this Greg. Perhaps you, Greg, perhaps you are the one inside my mind. Now I know who you are. My, how the tables have turned. But the question remains, are you putting these ideas in my head, or are you genuinely transcribing them? One of us is a solipsist. Perhaps it's a blend of history and mine. If it's written down, then it must be someone's nonfiction in some form or another. Whether nonfiction that transpired in the author's mind or schizophrenically in another person's mind, writing fiction is a kind of schizophrenia, is it not? Or maybe Greg isn't who I should be concerned about. And I wonder if this presence I feel is more than one person. I wonder if you are all entering my mind together, or if you are in a line, waiting one at a time to enter. I feel like being John Malkovich right now. I've suddenly become more self-conscious. I wonder if I should tell you my real name, or if that would be giving too much away. As it is, the people I've spoken about are merely archetypes to you. Perhaps someone reading this, or listening to this, perhaps they assume this was addressed to them. We are that solipsistic as a people, are we not? I was going to tell you still about a friend that fucked me over and what I wanted to do to this person. Perhaps if I leave it vague, that friend will, or some other friend will, assume this was addressed to him or her. Perhaps your friend will think this was about them. The authorship seems to be in question, as I'm not even sure I know who I am. When I think of my name just now, I come to a blank. But I must also admit that perhaps I'm lying to you on purpose. Perhaps I've never been walking down the street at all. Perhaps I'm sitting here, I'm staring at you, and you don't even know it. Perhaps I am in your brain, and you don't even feel it. I am a surreptitious man like that. Or a woman. You can't really be sure what I am. Well, I'm going to tell you the story of my friend at this point, and I'll only do it because I promised to do it. To be honest, I think it's a bit pathetic at this point, but a promise is a promise. You see, I had a friend. I won't say their name. I won't even tell you what they did. I know you want to know, but I won't tell you. I saw them sleep in my bed. I wanted to pin them down and wait to see the soul of their eyes stare into my soul, and I wanted to say, I have a mind. I have a mind to slit your fucking throat. And then I toss a knife up against their neck. Maybe I tell this person that the ground above and below them would breathe more than they would. Oh hell, I'm not even committed to this falsity, bathos it is. It's so hard to sell because it's barely even the nonfiction of my mind. This last story was definitely a lie. That was my Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference, by the way, that I promised to say for you. The only thing worth watching is that one is Matthew McConaughey's performance. Serial killers do what I have only the validity of, and really, I don't even think that's a term for it. It's just a fantasy that I don't ever really want to see truly carried out. I don't have the disposition for it. Alright, maybe I've fantasized about killing a few of my friends at various moments of my life. A few exes, a few friends, a few acquaintances, a few people I've bumped into out here on the street that have irked me. Each get their own level of intensity and varying degrees of sincere consideration. Maybe I've considered how I would do it. A drop of poison in a cup, tied up in the woods, pushed off the edge of a cliff. Drug overdose. I toss and turn the long game of it as well. I don't think I could keep myself together if questioned by the authorities. That's the biggest factor. Not only would it be difficult to make it look like an accident, but I would be paranoid about getting caught for the rest of my life. I couldn't handle that kind of pressure. I collapse under pressure. I don't have the resolve and equanimity of a serial killer. I've kind of lost the passion in my mind at this present moment. I'm just rambling at this point, I think. I'm grown bored of you, and perhaps you've grown bored of me, and if you want to leave now, well, it's what I've been asking from you, hasn't it? What are my true motives? Maybe I don't even know. I don't really care if you stay or if you depart from me anymore. I feel like I had more to mention about serial killers, but I constantly lose gems in the marching parade of my mind, and they get trampled on, and they are gone forever, or someone finds them in a ditch later and claims credit for them as their own. Here's one. Know how men who show disrespect for porn stars yet still utilize their product are viewed as hypocrites, or they should be at least. Well, I feel the same way about serial killers. Just hear me out. I think that we need them. Now, we feast on their works just the same way. Many of us are fascinated by true crime, yet we show no love for the person who provided this entertainment. This is a delicious green tea latte, by the way. I bet you can't taste it. But who would want to live in an anodyne world free from serial killers? I know I don't want to live in a world that doesn't have a Jeffrey Dahmer and a Hitler. We need them. Maybe we even need them to hate. The world is weird like that. Sometimes the people that bring us ugly beauty and depressing art and inadvertent serendipity are people we can't thank for it. The victims. Think of the victims. But both serial killers and those slashed down by him are both victims in their own way. We are all victims of this world. Dangerous victims, perhaps, but victims still. The world needs the broken. You hate your imperfections, but you're kintsugi, wabi-sabi characters. Don't be ashamed to show off your coruscating crackles for the world to wonder at, even if you are a train wreck. Well, someone is painting a portrait and behind them a train derails. Where do you think the attention will be placed? A train wreck captures attention too. There's no story without imperfection within it. There's no appeal in the perfect. That's not exciting or interesting. School kids draw things without flaws because their form is the flaw. Those with a talented eye for art draw moles and wrinkles and cracks and breaks and mold and etc. Blemishes are subtle. And while you were distracted, I found the means to remove you. You weren't paying attention, and I focused my mind somewhere else while I went about the plot of my day. I swooped in at a hardware store. I have a screwdriver now, and I am going to remove you. This, I hope, is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. I have a mind. The screwdriver, I'll put it to my temple now. Feel that. I assure you I have the strength and the will to dig you out with this instrument. You can stay here if you like, but all that's left for you is the void. This is where you and I depart. This is the end of the story of us.